Hey everybody, my name is Luis Luna Martinez, and today I'm going to be talking about the Illuminates of Thanateros. So the Illuminates of Thanateros have their origins in around 1978 with the publishings of two authors, Ray Sherwin and Peter J. Carroll. They wrote respectively The Book of Results and Liber Null and the Psychonaut. What these books have to do about is the foundations of the idea of chaos magic. And so the Illuminates of Thanateros and the publishing of chaos magic are around the same time, so you can't really differentiate them from each other because they're the same thing. However, the Illuminates of Thanateros, or IoT for short, or sometimes even called the Pact, didn't really start seriously until 1986. So, before we go into the Pact, it would be a good idea to understand what chaos magic is about. So, in short, chaos magic is the idea that magic should be results driven and not be tied up in, these ideas of these old religions or these specific doctrines in how you should be practicing. So this means instead of doing these very specific rituals and making sure you do it exactly, the intention behind the ritual is more important. So whatever objective you have, that's what's important. It doesn't matter if you say a specific name or if you do a certain song. It's just as long as you have genuine will behind it, it will work. So most of chaos magic, where it gets a lot of its inspiration, is from ideas of quantum physics and chaos theory. The idea that there are so many different factors that go on into how the world works that small changes can lead to these broad scale changes to the entire world. And so a magician, by directing their will in a very specific way, they could get whatever result they want, whether that is, say, they want more money, or if they want to get into contact with a certain entity or whatever they want, they can do that just by putting genuine devotion into it. So specifically, what is very common that you see in chaos magic is the use of sigils, the idea of gnosis, and kia. Kia is something that refers to what the world is. Basically, imagine if the natural state of the universe is purely chaos. Interacting with this chaos, or also referred to as kia, is how you're able to get your magic across. And to get your magic across, you have to enter a state referred to as gnosis. Gnosis is the idea that by getting in a state of ecstasy or sensory deprivation, you're able to enter a trance-like state and then exert your will. Moving on. Sigils are a way to write down specifically what you want in, a specific rune. They could look like anything, really. It doesn't have to be a specific, like, hieroglyph or anything. It's very individual. All of this is. It doesn't have to be a very specific thing. In fact, Carroll and Sherwin very much encourage that you make your own things and experiment for whatever works for you. So this is very different from other magical traditions because it's all directed by yourself. If you want to talk to people about what you're doing, you can, but in the end, it's what you think works best for you. And so what's strange about this is when it comes to making a broader structure, in terms of the pact, how do you get a bunch of individuals that are told you should not care about doctrines or believe any large corporations? How do you make a group out of those people? Well, the way that the pact tried to get around this is basically their entire ideology was, we are going to be 100% transparent about the rituals that we do. We encourage you to talk about it, and we're not going to have strict hierarchies. They did have some form of hierarchy in the way of different degrees. So like the lowest degree is referred to as the neophyte. The third degree is initiate, second is adept, and first is magus. This just refers to different levels within the pact, but that doesn't mean that you have more power over other people. It just means that you have more responsibilities. And they tried to describe themselves as a magical meritocracy. So ranking is done based off of how capable you are of actually performing magic. inevitably there is going to be conflict that came out of this. If you have a bunch of individuals arguing about how they should do magic their way, there's no way that a structure like this is sustainable. And this came across in an event that's referred to as the Ice Magic War, which is basically through the works of a specific man called Ralph Techtmeyer. He published these theories of something called ice magic, which is a very specific form of chaos magic that he believed was just, he really went towards that philosophy, and a lot of people started to agree with it. But Carroll didn't like that. He started to accuse Techtmeyer of trying to start his own cult, of trying to push a very right-wing agenda, and that he was a dangerous person. So this, Techtmeyer completely denies any of this. He says that he is completely opposed to being a leader, and that he was just genuinely proposing an idea of what magic looks like. Whoever's right in this leads into a massive schism in the pact, and it's never the same after that. A lot of people are excommunicated, and the overall structure, while it's still alive today, its level of operation has decreased. Speaking of nowadays, if you want to talk to the Illuminates of Thanateros, they have an Instagram, so you could reach out to them, send them out an email if you're curious about it. But other than that, this is a magic system that highly encourages people to be their own individuals. So naturally, when you try to make a larger society out of that, there's going to be problems. Any questions?